Welcome, fellow truth seekers. If you have an insatiable appetite for the paranormal, you're in for a treat. Join the Paranormal M family by subscribing and hitting that notification bell and get ready for a constant stream of spine-chilling stories. Story number 1. Silly Naughty Ghostbox. I've always found the realm of ghost hunting to be a fascinating and thrilling pursuit. My wife and I, in our spare time, like to dabble in this intriguing activity. It was only recently that we began acquiring various devices to enhance our ghost hunting experiences. Among our newest acquisitions was a peculiar gadget known as a Ghostbox. Having previously relied on smartphone apps and other similar tools, we found the Ghostbox to be an interesting addition to our paranormal investigations. It was back in the chilly month of January when we received the eagerly anticipated package containing our brand new Ghostbox. This device operates by rapidly flipping through radio stations, with the belief that spirits or entities can harness their ethereal energy to pluck out words or sentences, enabling them to respond to our inquiries or engage in conversations with us, the investigators. During that particular week, my wife had a morning appointment at the hospital, so we made the practical decision to book a hotel nearby. Given that both of us finished work at the late hour of 2:30 a.m., and considering the hospital's distance of about an hour from our home, it made sense to secure a place of rest that was conveniently located. Thus, we found ourselves settling into the hotel room close to 3 a.m., eagerly anticipating the few precious hours of sleep that awaited us. As we entered the room, still buzzing with residual energy from our long night of work, my wife eagerly retrieved the Ghostbox from our belongings. She excitedly began tinkering with the device while I commenced my nightly routine of brushing my teeth. Observing her enthusiasm, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of intrigue and caution. Although I relished in exploring the supernatural, I couldn't deny that I had reservations about stirring up too much paranormal activity within the confines of our own home. Thus, being away in a hotel room provided a sense of comfort in experimenting with this Ghostbox. As I stood at the sink brushing away the remnants of the day from my pearly whites, my wife commenced the Ghostbox operation. She set it upon the bed and let it oscillate through the various radio frequencies. The device emitted a symphony of fleeting words and snippets of music, yet nothing truly caught our attention or seemed out of the ordinary. However, fate had an unexpected surprise in store for us. In a hilarious twist of events, as my wife proceeded to change into her comfortable night clothes, removing her shirt and bra, the Ghostbox suddenly blurted out loud and clear, "Boobs! Nice!" The sheer absurdity of the situation caused both of us to freeze momentarily, our gazes locking in mutual astonishment. But in an instant, the absurdity transformed into an uproarious laughter that echoed throughout the hotel room. We couldn't contain ourselves, the infectious mirth consuming every inch of our beings. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sympathy for any neighboring hotel guests who may have been roused from their slumber by our uncontrollable laughter. But in that moment, the hilarity of the situation outweighed any concern for our surroundings. Our ghost hunting adventures had taken an unexpected turn, diverging from the realm of spirits and otherworldly encounters to a light-hearted and amusing interlude. The Ghostbox's unexpected and comical response became an unforgettable memory, a cherished moment shared between my wife and me. And as we eventually settled into bed, still chuckling at the unexpected twist, we realized that sometimes, even in the midst of seeking the unknown, laughter and joy can be found in the most unexpected places. Story number 2. My old house was haunted. In 2018, right after graduating from high school, my family and I made the decision to relocate to Georgia. Excitement filled the air as my dad purchased a stunning house in the picturesque town of Forsyth. It seemed like a dream come true, and we were eager to settle into our new home and create wonderful memories together. At first, the strange occurrences were subtle and easily dismissed. Objects would mysteriously shift from one place to another, doors would inexplicably open on their own, and faint knocks would occasionally echo through the house. We brushed it off as mere coincidences or maybe the house settling into its new surroundings. After all, it was a new environment, and unfamiliar noises were to be expected. However, as time went on, the incidents became increasingly peculiar. One night, about 2 weeks after moving in, I was fast asleep when I abruptly awoke to the distinct sound of footsteps echoing across the upstairs hallway. Curiosity got the better of me, and I cautiously opened my bedroom door to investigate, expecting to find a family member awake and wandering the house. Yet, to my surprise, there was no one in sight. This eerie phenomenon persisted, and each time I ventured out to explore, I found myself alone in the silent corridor. I tried to dismiss it, attributing the sounds to the house settling or perhaps my imagination playing tricks on me, and I retreated to bed, hoping to find solace in sleep. However, the tranquility was short-lived. One fateful night around 3 a.m., I was suddenly jolted awake by a loud bang resonating through my room. Still groggy from sleep, I strained my ears and discerned what seems like the sound of something crawling beside my bed. As I sat up, the crawling intensified, growing harder and faster, causing my heart to race with fear. It circled around my bed, and in that moment, a guttural growl pierced my left ear, chilling me to the core. Fear engulfed my senses, and without hesitation, I bolted out of my room, seeking refuge in my brother's bedroom. Breathless and trembling, I entered my brother's room, desperate for reassurance and safety. To my surprise, I discovered him laying in bed, covered halfway by his blanket. He asked me if it was me who had been walking back and forth, completely oblivious to the terrifying ordeal I had just experienced. I recounted the events to him, and we both decided it was best to sleep in his room for the next few nights, seeking comfort in each other's presence. As days turned into weeks, we continued to encounter inexplicable phenomena within the confines of our new home. On one occasion, I had invited 2 friends over, and we were enjoying a casual evening in the basement, sipping drinks and engaging in lighthearted conversations. Suddenly, without warning, the speakers in the room erupted with the haunting melodies of Russian music. The perplexing part was that the TV was turned off, and there seemed to be no logical explanation for the music to begin playing. We attempted to turn off the TV using the remote, but it refused to respond, leaving us baffled and unsettled. It wasn't until later that we discovered the chilling truth about our house. It came to our attention that a Russian woman had tragically lost her life within the very walls of our home. Prior to our arrival, the house had been rented out to a group of individuals who were rumored to practice witchcraft and host peculiar gatherings in the basement. They had even set up stages for their enigmatic rituals. As we explored the nooks and crannies of our home, we stumbled upon bizarre games hidden within the walls, and stumbled upon candy wrappers tucked away in obscure crawl spaces. These findings were beyond anything we could have anticipated, and the strangeness of it all was deeply unsettling. The list of supernatural encounters and unexplainable events within our house grew longer with each passing day. These encounters were not confined to just me. My friends and family also bore witness to the inexplicable. Even my father, once a staunch skeptic, had his beliefs shaken by the unexplainable occurrences within our home. The atmosphere became oppressive, and a sense of foreboding that permeated every corner of the house began to be suffocating. Sleep paralysis plagued me relentlessly, leaving me afraid to close my eyes, terrified of what might transpire in that darkness. Desperate to regain some semblance of normalcy, I embarked on a quest to cleanse the house of the malevolent energy that seemed to linger within its walls. I tried various methods, including burning dragon's blood incense, hoping it would drive away the sinister presence. However, instead of banishing the entity, it seemed to aggravate it, intensifying the hauntings and subjecting me to further torment. My efforts to free our home from the clutches of darkness had backfired, leaving me feeling helpless and more vulnerable than ever. As a child, I'd experienced my fair share of supernatural occurrences, but nothing compared to the malevolence I encountered in that house. It was far more sinister, and it robbed me of sleep and filled my waking moments with dread at the same time. The fear of the unknown consumed me, leaving me on edge and perpetually on guard. Eventually, my family made the difficult decision to leave that ominous house behind. We relocated to another city, hoping to leave the lingering spirits and oppressive energy in the past. The contrast between our new home and the one that we had left behind was remarkable. The atmosphere felt lighter, devoid of the oppressive weight that had plagued us for so long. It was as if a dark cloud had been lifted, and we were finally free from the clutches of that malevolent force. Remarkably, since our departure, I found solace in restful sleep once again. The sleep paralysis that had plagued me in that haunted house is now a distant memory. The supernatural encounters that once cast a pall over our lives have diminished, allowing us to breathe freely and find peace. It's important to note that despite my previous encounters with the supernatural, nothing could have prepared me for the sheer malevolence that permeated that house. It was an experience that left an indelible mark on me, forever reminding me of the power and darkness that can exist beyond the veil of the physical world. It taught me the importance of cherishing the light and finding sanctuary in the places that uplift and protect our spirits. That haunting memory of our time in that house will forever serve as a reminder of the unseen forces that can shape our lives, and the resilience and strength that we possess to overcome even the most terrifying of trials. Story number 3. Naked Running Ghost. As I reflect on my childhood, a peculiar memory resurfaces, one that has always perplexed me. I vividly recall a moment when I was lying in bed, with the door ajar, allowing a sliver of light from the hallway to seep into my room. It was during this tranquil evening that something utterly bizarre occurred, an incident that still lingers in the recesses of my mind. Out of nowhere, in a frenzy of motion, a naked man sprinted past my partially open door. Yes, I've realized how utterly peculiar this may sound, but it's the truth. What remains etched in my memory is not only the visual image of the man's naked form, but the distinct sound his feet made as they connected with the floor. Strangely enough, the sound of his footsteps resembled that of bare feet pounding against cold, unforgiving kitchen tiles. Yet in stark contrast, our hallway boasted a carpeted floor. How could I forget such a peculiar detail? It defied all logic and reason, leaving me perplexed and questioning the very nature of that inexplicable event. Upon further contemplation, I find myself grappling with the inconsistencies of that peculiar night. You see, adjacent to my room lay the toilet, a cramped space that allowed for no significant room to maneuver, let alone embark on a full sprint. How, then, could this enigmatic figure have dashed past my door in such a reckless manner? Curiously enough, my recollection fails me after the fleeting sound of rapid footsteps. There's no memory of a door opening or closing, nor any subsequent commotion. It is possible that the passage of time has distorted the events of that evening, obscuring certain details and leaving behind only fragments of this enigmatic puzzle. Intriguingly, my quest for answers took an unexpected turn when I stumbled upon a video titled Naked Running Ghost. This footage depicted a shaky camera recorded within a living room, capturing an abrupt apparition of a naked man dashing across the screen. The moment my eyes beheld this unexpected visual, a surge of familiarity coursed through my veins. It was as if the past had collided with the present, reigniting the long-lost memory of that surreal encounter from my childhood. The revelation was astounding, prompting a peculiar query to surface within my thoughts. Did I, in fact, bear witness to a ghostly apparition all those years ago? Am I acutely aware of how preposterous such a notion may seem, but an unshakable feeling gnaws at my core, telling me that something's amiss? Could it be that I was granted a fleeting glimpse into a realm beyond our understanding? Was that fleeting, naked figure a specter of the supernatural, crossing over from the ethereal plane into my earthly abode? The possibility seems both enthralling and terrifying, leaving me with an undeniable sense of unease. My mind continues to wrestle with the enigma presented by that vivid childhood memory. Though I cannot offer concrete answers, nor can I dismiss it as mere figments of an overactive imagination, the lingering curiosity and sense of disquiet remain. Perhaps one day, the truth will unveil itself, and the strange puzzle of that fateful night will finally find its missing pieces. Until then, I'm left to ponder the mysteries that lie hidden within the recesses of my past, forever questioning the nature of that otherworldly encounter. Story number 4. Something grabbing your foot as you fall asleep. Let me tell you about the incident that occurred the other night, which left me bewildered and unsettled. It all began when my phone buzzed with a text message from my mom, piercing through the late-night silence. It was well past 1 a.m., and I wondered what could be so urgent at such an hour. Curiosity was piqued. I unlocked the phone and read the message that would set the stage for a chilling tale. In her text, my mom queried whether I ever experienced the unnerving sensation of someone grabbing my foot while peacefully slumbering in bed. You see, my mom's husband had fallen ill, and as a result, she had temporarily moved into my old room for the past few months. Evidently, something insidious had been disturbing her sleep by grabbing her foot in the dead of night. Now, my mother's not one to exaggerate or indulge in theatrics. For her to reach out and ask me this, I knew she must be genuinely frightened. What made the situation even more disconcerting was that as soon as she mentioned it, a wave of forgotten memories flooded my mind. Recollections of nights spent in that very room where I too had experienced peculiar encounters came rushing back. At the time, I had dismissed those incidents as mere figments of my imagination or perhaps vivid dreams. I wanted desperately to believe that it was all confined to the recesses of my mind. Allow me to elaborate on one such occurrence that now stands out in vivid detail. I recall lying on my bed, my preferred sleeping position being on my stomach, and due to my height, my feet often dangled over the edge. On this particular night, I suddenly felt a jolt of forceful pressure gripping my ankle, as if an unseen hand had seized it with purpose. The force applied was undeniable, yanking my leg with unexpected strength. At the time, I shrugged it off, attributing it to a bizarre dream or an overactive imagination. Now, with my mother's unsettling revelation, all the dismissals and rationalizations seemed futile. She appeared deeply disturbed by these nocturnal intrusions, and considering her already burdened state of mind, caring for her ailing husband, I knew that she couldn't afford any additional stress. The puzzle deepened, and my mind swirled with unanswered questions. What sinister presence lurked in that room, targeting our feet in the dead of night? Was it a malevolent spirit, a mischievous entity, or something else altogether? Perhaps it was an inexplicable phenomenon beyond our comprehension. Whatever the case, it was evident that this uninvited visitor was wreaking havoc on our peace of mind. Filled with a mix of curiosity, apprehension, and a strong desire to protect my mother, I decided to embark on a quest for answers, determined to confront this enigma head-on. I delved into research, exploring accounts of paranormal encounters, supernatural disturbances, and unexplained phenomena. As I embarked on this journey, my understanding of the inexplicable deepened. I discovered a wealth of testimonies from people who had encountered similar experiences, bizarre encounters with unseen forces that defied logic and rattled their very core. it became evident that they were not alone in our nocturnal trials. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I resolved to unravel the mysteries shrouding our old room. I sought the guidance of paranormal experts, delving into their advice, methods, and experiences. Together, we ventured into the realm of the unknown, conducting investigations, setting up cameras, and even employing various spiritual and metaphysical practices to repel or communicate with the mysterious entity. Days turned into weeks, and the nights became a battleground between the ethereal and the corporeal. We experienced instances of inexplicable temperature drops, objects moving on their own, and even faint whispers echoing through the room's hollowed silence. It was a constant dance between fear and determination as we persisted in our pursuit of truth. Finally, after an arduous and intense period of investigation, we stumbled upon a breakthrough, a faded diary, tucked away in a dusty corner of the attic, awaiting discovery. Its weathered pages revealed the tale of a former resident, who, unbeknownst to us, had encountered the same spectral torment we now faced. According to the diary entries, a tragic incident had occurred in that very room many decades ago. A young woman plagued by a restless spirit seeking solace or perhaps retribution had fallen victim to an untimely demise. Her presence lingered, perpetuating a cycle of unease and spectral unrest. With this newfound understanding, we endeavored to bring peace to this tormented soul, consulting spiritual experts. We performed ceremonies of cleansing and purification, aiming to release the trapped energy and provide closure to the lingering spirit. We lit incense, recited ancient chants, and infused the atmosphere with love and compassion. Gradually, the air grew lighter, the tension dissipated, and the room began to regain its tranquility. The once malevolent presence that had tormented us night after night gradually receded into the depths of the unknown, leaving us with a sense of relief mingled with a touch of sorrow. Reflecting on this extraordinary journey, I find solace in the fact that my mother and I were able to confront and conquer the inexplicable forces that had haunted our nights. Our shared experience brought us closer together, fostering a bond fortified by courage, resilience, and a deep appreciation for the unfathomable mysteries of the universe. As I gaze upon that room now, bathed in the soft glow of daylight, I can't help but marvel at the intricate tapestry of life, the hidden dimensions that exist beyond the realm of our perception. Though the scars of that haunting experience may never fully fade, they serve as a reminder of our strength, our ability to face the unknown, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of the supernatural. Story number 5. Saw and felt something, but we were alone. In the year 2015, when I was 33 years old, I found myself deeply involved in a romantic relationship with my now husband, Andrew. At that time, I resided in a different city, but during one particular weekend, I decided to pay Andrew a visit in Houston, where he lived. He shared a ranch-style home reminiscent of the 1960s with 2 other individuals, whom I shall refer to as Gary and Gary's girlfriend. It was our routine to spend our weekends together, exploring various activities, but on this specific evening, each couple had chosen to pursue separate plans. After Andrew and I returned home from a lovely dinner, we thought it prudent to check in with his roommates to ascertain their whereabouts. Gary informed us that they were still dining and would return after a few more hours. With this knowledge in mind, Andrew and I settled in front of the television, intending to enjoy some leisurely entertainment before retiring early for the night. Since we had the house to ourselves, I decided to utilize Andrew's shower while he opted for the guest room down the hallway. My shower lasted approximately 10 minutes, and as I emerged from the steam-filled bathroom, I contemplated the lack of necessity in closing the door. Considering it was just Andrew and me in the house for the foreseeable future, I reasoned that there is no potential for anyone else to inadvertently witness my awe-neutral state. Completing my usual bedtime routine, with changing into my pajamas as the final step, I began brushing my teeth. While hunched over the sink, completely exposed, an unexpected sight caught my attention. An individual swiftly passed by the door, down the hallway. Moreover, the unmistakable sensation of a presence permeated the atmosphere, including its fleeting encounter with the bathroom. Alarmed and utterly flabbergasted, I hastily wrapped myself up in a towel and hastened toward the guest room where Andrew had been preparing for the evening. He was in the process of getting dressed as I divulged my distressing revelation. Gary had inadvertently caught sight of me in my vulnerable state, which left me feeling deeply upset and mortified. Andrew, wearing a perplexed expression, vehemently denied the plausibility of my account, revealing that he had received a text message from their friends, notifying him that they were concluding their dinner and would be soon returning home. As Andrew's words reached my ears, it felt as if the blood drained from my face. His remark, suggesting a resemblance to a person encountering a ghost, failed to capture my sentiments at the time. I didn't consider the paranormal as a possible explanation. Instead, my immediate assumption revolved around the notion that an intruder had breached our sanctuary, and now roamed freely within its confines. Filled with trepidation, I implored Andrew to conduct a thorough search of the entire house, and even the garage while I sought refuge in the safety of the guest room. However, much to our relief, his inspection yielded no intruders or signs of unauthorized entry. Until that moment, my beliefs concerning the paranormal had remained somewhat neutral. I neither adamantly denied its existence nor actively sought validation for such phenomena, as I had never experienced any first-hand encounters. Nevertheless, that fateful night remains etched in my memory as vividly as it had occurred yesterday. I am certain of what I saw and the distinct sensations that coursed through me. While I lack the expertise to unravel the mysteries of the supernatural, I cannot explain why this peculiar incident represented the sole manifestation throughout the 2 years Andrew resided in that house. As far as my knowledge extends, the property lacks any sinister or macabre history. Perhaps this occurrence was an isolated event, or perchance my imagination had played tricks on me. Regardless, from that point forward, I became an unwavering believer in the existence of paranormal phenomenon. Story number 6. Ask Reddit. Once upon a time, in a distant land, there lived a woman who possessed extraordinary powers in the field of medicine. Although it's been ages since I last heard this tale, I vaguely remembered that she had a rather questionable reputation. To my recollection, this woman had recently given birth to a litter of adorable puppies, but to her dismay, she felt ashamed of them. She decided to keep them confined within a sack, hidden away from the world. During the day, when the woman would venture out of her tent, the mischievous puppies would manage to escape the confines of the sack and play gleefully inside her dwelling. Curiously enough, every time she approached her tent, she could hear the joyful sounds of children emanating from within. However, no matter how swiftly she moved, by the time she reached into the entrance of her tent, she could only catch a fleeting glimpse of the last puppy scurrying back into the sack. Driven by intrigue and desire to unravel this mysterious phenomenon, the woman devised a plan to outwit the playful puppies. Instead of leaving her tent as usual, she decided to linger outside, pretending to be absent while secretly observing their activities. This time, her strategy bore fruit, and she managed to catch the puppies red-handed, or so she thought. To her astonishment, as she approached them, she realized that they were not puppies at all, but actual children. Despite her attempts to contain them, most of the children transformed back into puppies and grew into adult dogs. However, there were 2 exceptional children who she had successfully apprehended, and their unique transformation set them apart. These true extraordinary beings remained human as they grew older, and they would eventually become known as the first Tli-Cho people, leaving an indelible mark on the tapestry of history. Now let me regale you with another tale, a captivating story that weaves together elements of orphaned children, a malevolent witch, and a colossal giant guarding a bridge of great significance. However, I must preface this narrative by stating that I do not believe it holds any profound life lessons or historical significance. It is simply a story that has been passed down through the generations, shared by our elder of our community. Many moons ago, there lived a brother and sister of the Tli-Cho tribe, who one fateful day ventured away from the safety of their camp to indulge in playful escapades. As the sun began its descent, casting a dark shroud over the land, they realized it was time to return home. Little did they know that a devastating tragedy had befallen their camp, as a neighboring tribe had mercilessly attacked and massacred everyone in their absence. Upon their return, the heart-wrenching sight of their decimated camp greeted the two children, leaving them stranded and devoid of hope. Days passed and their hunger gnawed at their bellies, leaving them desperate and unsure of what to do next. It was during this dire moment that an evil medicine woman appeared before them, attempting to lure them into her clutches. However, their instincts warned them of her wickedness, and they mustered the strength to escape her clutches. With fear propelling their steps, the siblings fled through the treacherous wilderness until they reached a deep chasm, with a raging river coursing through its depths. To their astonishment, they discovered a colossal giant positioned on the other side of the chasm, serving as an unexpected guardian of the passage. The giant, extending an act of kindness amidst the darkness, offered to create a bridge by laying across the chasm, allowing the children to cross to safety. However, he posed an unusual condition. Before granting them passage, they had to consume a peculiar substance, the giant's own sizable snot, extracted meticulously from his cavernous nostrils. Overwhelmed by their desperate circumstances, the children found themselves at a crossroads. Consuming the giant's repulsive offering was their only ticket to survival, and they reluctantly obliged. Miraculously, their compliance resulted in the giant fulfilling his promise, and they were granted safe passage across the bridge. As fate would have it, the evil medicine woman, undeterred by the children's escape, arrived at the chasm, determined to pursue them. Presented with the same peculiar condition, she arrogantly scoffed at the giant's offer, refusing to entertain the notion of consuming his repugnant offering. Mocking the giant and underestimating his power, she relentlessly berated him, demanding him that he lay down across the chasm for her convenience. However, the giant's patience wore thin, and in a swift turn of events, he executed a remarkable act of retribution. Just as the witch was halfway across the bridge, he suddenly rolled over, causing the treacherous pathway to crumble beneath her feet. With a blood-curdling shriek, the witch plummeted into the depths of the chasm, meeting her tragic demise. Meanwhile, the children, now devoid of guidance and protection, were discovered by the very tribe responsible for their annihilation of their parents and kin. Taking them in, the tribe raised the orphans as their own, enveloping them in a newfound sense of belonging. Thus, the tale of the Tli-Cho brother and sister, intertwined with the elements of the witch and the giant, came to an unexpected and poignant conclusion. As with all stories, the truth may have been embellished over time, transforming into legends that capture our imaginations. Nevertheless, these narratives serve as a testament to the power of storytelling and its ability to bridge the gap between generations, preserving our cultural heritage and capturing our hearts with each retelling. Story number 7. I must admit that within the vast repertoire of oral tradition tales passed down through generations, I have yet to encounter any that revolve around the enigmatic Naga. However, the stories I'm about to recount are not products of whimsical imagination, but rather narratives shared with me by individuals who have had the rare privilege of personal experiences with these elusive beings. Let us embark on a journey through time, for it was approximately 4 to 5 decades ago when the Naga, in an audacious act, abducted a young boy from the tranquil town of Edzo. Astonishingly, the reverberations of this event continue to ripple through the annals of history, as his family, bound by an unyielding love and hope, still traverse to an enigmatic island. It is on this sacred isle that they offer humble tributes of clothes and sustenance to appease the Naga, ever hopeful for the safe return of their beloved child. The passage of time could not conceal the lingering glimmers of truth. 4 years later, this very boy emerged from the depths of obscurity. However, the passage of time had wrought a profound transformation upon him, for he was no longer a mere mortal boy. Instead, he stood as a testament to the mystifying power of the Naga, clad in attire incongruous to their kind, donning a shirt and a baseball cap. Through the mystical arts of the Dini magic, they had transmuted an ordinary lad into a creature of their own ilk. In the realm of extraordinary encounters, I once had the privilege of listening to a tale shared by a colleague. This individual, seeking to satiate his curiosity, had procured an illicit firearm and ventured deep into the untamed wilderness. Far removed from the constraints of civilization, he stumbled upon a peculiar locale, where nature itself seemed to have been magnified in scale. The trees towered above him, and the grass beneath his feet swayed with an almost preternatural vigor. A disconcerting sense of awe permeated the air, compelling him to promptly depart from his extraordinary realm. Upon his return, accompanied by a friend, a grisly sight awaited them. In a horrifying display of primal violence, a grizzly bear lay dismembered, its once majestic form cruelly divided into 5 distinct parts: the head, body, arms, and legs. Astonishingly, no traces of feasting could be discerned, no telltale signs of scratches or missing flesh. Filled with a primal instinct for self-preservation, they promptly recoiled from this gruesome scene, an ominous harbinger of the forbidden domain they unwittingly trespassed upon. Seeking solace and guidance, he confided in his grandmother, only to be met with an unequivocal slap across his cheek, a resounding reminder to never venture into that sacred territory ever again. It became unequivocally clear that the land upon which they had unwittingly trespassed belonged to the Naga, a place where mortals were not meant to tread. Lastly, allow me to regale you with the tale of another colleague, who in his formative years had an encounter with the Naga that would forever sear itself into his consciousness. As a young child, he found himself nestled within the confines of a tent while partaking in a hunting expedition. The tent, adorned with a plastic window, offered a fragile barrier between him and the night. In the midst of his slumber, he was abruptly awakened by a cacophony of distress emanating from his 4 canine companions who lay just beyond the confines of his temporary abode. Curiosity piqued, he cast his gaze upward, only to be confronted by a sight that defied reason. There, peering into the vulnerable sanctuary, stood a Naga, its eyes fixed upon him with an intensity that chilled him to the core. Petrified by fear, he dared not make a single movement, remaining frozen in place until his brother stirred from his own slumber. Emboldened by the presence of another soul, they mustered the courage to venture outside, only to discover that the ordinarily fierce and protective canines were huddled together within their shelter, their mournful cries permeating the air. It was then, as he glanced toward the glistening expanse of the lake, that he witnessed a spectacle that defied the very laws of nature. The Naga, propelled by an otherworldly agility, traversed the shore with an almost ethereal swiftness, gliding upon the ground while mimicking the motions of walking. its arms and legs moving in perfect synchronization. When its gaze fell upon the young witness, the creature abruptly halted its locomotion, and with a disconcerting fluidity began retracing its steps, receding into the veil of darkness. Filled with an overwhelming sense of dread, he rushed to awaken his slumbering parents, seeking solace in their protective embrace. Yet, despite this terrifying encounter, he would never again bear witness to the ethereal presence of the Naga. Thus, dear listener, I share these accounts with you, rendered in the vibrant tapestry of the first-person narrative, in an effort to evoke the ineffable and the mysterious nature of these encounters. The tale of the Naga, intertwined with the magic and the forbidden, serve as a reminder that there are realms beyond our comprehension, where forces beyond our mortal ken reside, awaiting their chance to intrude upon our world. May these stories serve as a testament to the enduring power of myth and the enduring mysteries that lie hidden in the shadows of our collective consciousness. Story number 8. Strange Times at My Old House. So let me begin by sharing the unsettling experiences I encountered during the time I resided in 2 different houses with my late mother. It's been 5 years since these incidents occurred, and I moved out a year ago after her passing. The first house we lived in was, without a doubt, the worst of the 2, and oddly enough, the second house was just 2 houses down from the first one, on the same plot of land. I mentioned this because I believe there may be some connection to the land itself, which is why it strikes me as significant. Recently, I came across a comment on a post that discussed how living near train tracks could potentially lead to paranormal encounters and the presence of black mold. This particular remark triggered a train of thought within me, as both of the houses I lived in were plagued by black mold. Although they were old trailers, the first one suffered the most severely. Living there, I consistently felt an eerie sensation of being watched. It reached a point where at times, around 3 in the afternoon, I would become overwhelmed by fear, sensing an impending threat. I would hastily flee the premises, abandoning my shoes in the process, only to put them on and outside, and seek refuge at my mother's workplace for a grueling 8 hours, anxiously awaiting her shift to conclude. I suppose I should clarify that I was already in my late 20s at the time, so it wasn't simply a case of youthful fright. The overwhelming sense of dread I experienced was truly overpowering. During this period, I also had manic episodes that fueled my belief that there were individuals in the living room plotting my demise, planning to bury me somewhere in the yard. Furthermore, vivid images would materialize in my mind's eye, depicting an enormous ancient demon, devoid of any discernible gender, residing within the open closet positioned right behind my head. Impish creatures would manifest in the hallway as well, and astonishingly, I could actually see them. However, I must emphasize that these mischievous entities never made any direct physical contact with me, even though their presence was undeniably unsettling. I do apologize if I appear to be rushing through this account. There's simply so much to convey and my thoughts are jumbled. Please pardon any grammar errors as well. I'm merely hoping to find solace in knowing whether anyone else has encountered similar things. Interestingly, after my mother moved to the second house, the one that was just 2 houses away, I began experiencing seizures there as well, following a series of manic episodes wherein I perceived and sensed spirits dwelling within the house. In an attempt to capture evidence of these ethereal beings, I would often take photographs of the hallway at night, and to my shock, I would discover apparitions captured in the images. Even my family members corroborated my claims of seeing these spirits in the photographs. Unfortunately, I no longer possess those photos as the phone containing them is no longer in my possession. However, I do have one image on my current phone, although the spirit within it is barely discernible unless you scrutinize it closely. Yet upon careful examination, one can observe pointed ears, a mouth, eyes, a body, and 2 slender legs, An imp, captured on camera. I truly wish I still possessed the other pictures, particularly one depicting a malevolent hellhound standing in front of my bedroom door, as well as a photograph revealing the presence of two towering shadow-like figures. These images would have served as compelling evidence. Regrettably, I have no means to prove the hardships I endured during that period, despite even my skeptical aunt bearing witness to the hellhound and the apparitions present in those photos. It's an overwhelming desire of mine to find a way to substantiate the reality of what I had experienced. In retrospect, I ponder whether the combination of black mold and the peculiar land upon which I resided played a significant role in instigating these harrowing encounters. Certainly, stress was a contributing factor as well, and I acknowledge that. However, the intense feeling of dread that permeated my being was undeniably real. If only I possessed the photographs, I could present them as tangible evidence to support my claims. Alas, they are lost to me now, leaving me with a lingering sense of longing for validation. Story number 9. I remember a paranormal activity from my childhood. When I was between the ages of 4 and 5, I had a small room all to myself. It was a cozy space with a table that held an old-style television and a comfortable mattress placed on the floor. On this particular day, my mother and aunt joined me in my room as we settled down to watch TV together, sitting on the mattress. Being a young child, I wasn't particularly interested in adult shows. My eyes were fixed on the colorful and entertaining world of cartoons. As I sat there engrossed in the animated characters, my attention gradually shifted towards the environment surrounding me. That's when it happened. I froze. It felt as if time stood still, and I was rendered motionless in that moment. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of a man, standing outside with a peculiar smile on his face. His eyes were fixated on me, and it sent shivers down my spine. Panic overcame me, and I desperately tried to alert my mother about the presence of this man. I stammered and stumbled over my words, attempting to convey that there was someone outside the window. But to my dismay, my mother reassured me that no one was there, yet I could clearly see him, his eerie smile haunting my thoughts. He wore a blue shirt and had a white beard that contrasted sharply against his pale complexion. What troubled me the most were his eyes, deep red, almost glowing with an unsettling intensity. Then, as abruptly as he had appeared, the man vanished into thin air. The memory of that moment still lingers vividly in my mind, etched into my consciousness. The image of his strange smile and those piercing red eyes continue to haunt me. Even as I recall this story now, it remains a perplexing mystery, a chilling encounter from my childhood that I can never forget. Story number 10. So I found big handprints on my fridge. So this morning, I woke up feeling groggy and disoriented. As I slowly regained consciousness, I realized it was time to let my dogs out. With a yawn and a stretch, I stumbled out of bed and made my way toward the back door. As I reached the kitchen, something caught my eye. The side of my fridge, which usually faced the wall, was now positioned towards the back door. It was an odd sight, but I didn't pay much attention to it at first. I opened the door to let my dogs out, and as I turned around to close it, I was met with a startling discovery. Right there on the fridge was a fresh handprint. It was as if someone had just touched the surface moments ago. The steamy imprint reminded me of the fogged-up mirror in the bathroom after a hot shower, only this handprint was much larger than my own. To validate my astonishment, I quickly snapped some comparison pictures. Living with just my girlfriend and me in the house, this mysterious handprint sent chills down my spine. We hadn't touched the side of the fridge in ages, let alone with both hands like that. It was undeniably eerie and left me pondering over its origins. Seeking some clarity, I decided to seek unbiased opinions. I shared the peculiar incident with a few friends and family members, hoping they could shed some light on the matter. Unsurprisingly, they were just as perplexed as I was. None of them could come up with a logical explanation for the sudden appearance of the handprint. As I delved deeper into recent history, I realized that strange occurrences were becoming a recurring theme in my life. It wasn't just the handprint on the fridge that unsettled me. There's been other bizarre incidents that left me questioning my sanity. One night, as I prepared to retire for the day, I turned off the main light in my bedroom. I climbed into bed, reached over to turn on my bedside lamp, but to my astonishment, it refused to illuminate. No matter how many times I flicked the switch, the light remained stubbornly off. Frustrated, I eventually gave up and resigned myself to sleep in the darkness. However, just as I began to relax, I felt something peculiar underneath my pillow. It was an unmistakable shape of a light bulb. Confused, I pulled it out and realized that it was the light bulb from my malfunctioning lamp. How it ended up beneath my pillow, I had no clue. Instances like these were not isolated. I would frequently discover clothes missing from my wardrobe, only to find them days later in unexpected places. It was as if my belongings had a mind of their own, playing hide and seek with me. I couldn't help but wonder if these occurrences were somehow connected to the mysterious handprint on the fridge. As I recounted these incidents, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. It was as if there was an invisible presence in our home, toying with our belongings and leaving behind perplexing clues. The logical part of my mind desperately searched for rational explanations, but the inexplicable nature of these events continued to baffle me. Was there a logical explanation for all of this? Or was there something supernatural at play? The handprint on the fridge remained an enigma, leaving me with more questions than answers. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than met the eye. So here I am, sharing my experiences and seeking any insight or guidance from those willing to offer it. Perhaps someone out there has encountered similar phenomena or possessed the knowledge to unravel this perplexing mystery. Any thoughts or theories would be greatly appreciated as I continue to navigate this strange and unsettling journey of unexplained occurrences in my home. Story number 11. Why does it only happen when it rains? I, a 20-year-old male, hail from what appears to be a lineage of seers or some kind of mystical heritage. It's a peculiar generational phenomenon that's been passed down through my biological father's side of the family, granting us the ability to perceive and receive things that elude the grasp of ordinary individuals. However, I must confess that my understanding of this inherited gift remains rather murky. Not too long ago, I made the decision to relocate to a new apartment complex, believing it would offer a more favorable environment for me. You see, no matter where I've resided in the past, I've always encountered auditory or visual manifestations of people who, upon closer inspection, turn out to be figments of my unique perception. Surprisingly, I never experienced any foreboding sensations about the area I now call home until something peculiar transpired that shifted my perspective. Whenever rainfall graced the vicinity, an extraordinary phenomenon would unfold. I could distinctly hear agonized screams and the forceful pounding of fists against walls, seemingly emanating from directions leading outdoors. A truly perplexing situation considering I dwell on the top floor of the building. It was a disconcerting occurrence that compelled me to share my experiences here. I've been a resident of this complex for a mere 2 months, and rain showers have graced our vicinity on only a dozen occasions, including tonight. As I write this, the clock strikes 1:30 in the morning, a time that often finds me grappling with sleep troubles, a lifelong struggle of mine. It was during this late hour that I suddenly perceived what appeared to be a series of agonized screams right outside my apartment door. Intrigued yet apprehensive, I cautiously peered through the window, only to find an empty corridor devoid of any human presence. Determined to uncover the source of these perplexing sounds, I gingerly resumed my seat on the sofa, hastily finishing the remnants of my soda. To my dismay, a resounding bang reverberated from the vicinity of the sliding glass door adjacent to the main entrance. My heart pounding, I promptly examined the area, scanning for any signs of life, whether it be an animal or a wayward branch. But to my bewilderment, there was naught to be found, save for an expansive patch of parched cement, soaked by the relentless downpour. This peculiar turn of events marks the first occasion in which I felt compelled to venture outside or investigate matters concerning the enigmatic screams that echo throughout the rain-soaked air. As you can imagine, the sheer weight of these experiences and the implications they hold have proven rather overwhelming, particularly since I now have a child in my care. Consequently, I find it increasingly challenging to dismiss these occurrences as mere flights of fancy. Thus, I implore you to shed some light on this conundrum that has been perplexing me. Why does this inexplicable phenomenon exclusively manifest itself during rainfall? Story number 12. Experience with terminal patient with ghost sighting before and after her death. During my 17 years as a hospice RN, I encountered countless spiritual experiences that left an indelible mark on my soul. One particular incident stands out vividly in my memory, which took place during my time at the hospice inpatient unit, where we cared for 10 patients in their final stages of life. On that fateful day, I was attending to a woman who was actively nearing the end of her journey. As I walked past her room, I couldn't resist stealing a glance inside. To my surprise, there she was, sitting upright on the edge of her bed, adorned with a warm, gentle smile. It struck me as odd since just a few seconds prior, she had been lying in bed with both legs intact. Initially, I continued on my way, but something compelled me to stop and reflect. The realization hit me that she had not been faring well lately. Furthermore, the sight of her missing leg, which had been present in my previous encounter, added an additional layer of perplexity to the situation. Curiosity and a deep sense of compassion urged me to retrace my steps and peek into the room once more. To my astonishment, she was still lying in bed, just as I had left her moments ago. A thought crossed my mind, like a whisper from the ethereal realm. Could it be that what I had witnessed was her soul preparing to embark on its journey beyond the physical realm? In that moment she appeared so content, so blissful. It was as if she had caught a glimpse of the purest form of happiness that awaits us all. As my shift came to an end, I made my way home, carrying the weight of the extraordinary encounter with me. Little did I know that the extraordinary was about to follow me right through my front door. As I stepped into the familiar comfort of my house, I couldn't believe my eyes. Standing there in my hallway was the very woman I had attended to earlier that day. She stood tall and radiant, possessing both of her legs and appearing to be at least half her age. Her smile radiated a brilliance that could light up even the darkest of rooms. Caught between awe and disbelief, I found myself rooted to the spot, unable to tear my gaze away from her enchanting presence. Time seemed to stand still as we exchanged a silent acknowledgement, an unspoken connection that transcended the boundaries of our physical existence. Gratitude welled up within me, and I mustered a smile, expressing my profound appreciation for her decision to grace me with this visitation. In a fleeting moment, as though fading into a realm beyond mortal comprehension, she vanished from my sight. The ethereal encounter left me trembling with a mixture of emotions, wonder, humility, and an overwhelming sense of blessing. I knew deep within my heart that this extraordinary event was not a mere figment of my imagination or a trick of the light. It was a profound experience that affirmed the existence of a world beyond our own. Without hesitation, I dialed the number for my workplace, my voice trembling with excitement and a touch of trepidation, urging them to check on the patient I had encountered. I anxiously awaited their confirmation. The nurse at the other end of the line returned, her voice filled with solemnity, as she affirmed that the patient had indeed passed away. A profound sense of gratitude washed over me, intertwining with a profound sorrow. The knowledge that this remarkable woman had chosen to touch my life, even for a brief moment, filled me with an immense sense of purpose. I had been granted the privilege of witnessing her transition and sharing in the joy that accompanied her departure from this earthly plane. In the years that followed, I continued to care for countless patients, offering them comfort and solace during their final moments. However, that encounter with the woman who defied the boundaries of time and space remained etched in my consciousness. It served as a constant reminder that there is a realm of existence beyond what our mortal senses can perceive, a realm filled with joy and love and profound connections. As I reflect upon my journey as a hospice RN, I am humbled by the privilege bestowed upon me to witness the delicate dance between life and death. Each encounter, every spiritual experience, has left an indelible mark on my being, shaping me into the compassionate, empathetic nurse I am today, and for that, I will be forever grateful. Story number 13. Street with Bad Vibes. As I reminisce about that memorable night, I can't help but recall the eerie experience I had while driving home from the prom with my companions. Picture this, a car filled with laughter and youthful exuberance, traversing a street nestled amidst the scenic countryside, belonging to the Portland-Vancouver area. Little did we know that our journey would take an unexpected turn, and the events that unfolded would etch themselves indelibly into my memory. It all began when my gaze inadvertently fell upon a house situated along that very road. In an instant, an inexplicable sensation of unease gripped my being, sending chills down my spine. I couldn't shake off the strange aura that enveloped that particular house. Intriguingly enough, I found myself unable to articulate this discomfort to my friends, and an unspoken agreement seemed to exist, silently acknowledging the palpable shift in the atmosphere. As we continued our drive, it became evident that this peculiarity I initially sensed was not confined to that lone residence. No, dear reader, the enigmatic ambiance seemed to extend its insidious tendrils, casting an unsettling pallor over the entire stretch of houses lining that road. Each house, with its distinct ranch-style architecture, appeared foreboding in its own right, evoking an amalgamation of curiosity and trepidation within me. I couldn't help but notice these homes possessed an uncanny similarity in their appearance. Their front yards, like open invitations, extended towards the road, seemingly beckoning passerbys into their enigmatic domains. And there, amidst those elongated spaces, were meticulously curated gardens, adorned with an abundance of diminutive pine trees. The juxtaposition of nature's beauty against the backdrop of an inexplicable disquietude created an unsettling tableau that defied rational explanation. In an attempt to make sense of this disconcerting episode, I confided in one of my close friends, a person endowed with the exceptional gift, the ability to perceive and comprehend emotions on an extraordinary level, a fellow empath. Their understanding of the human psyche far surpassed my own, and to my astonishment, their response mirrored my own sentiments precisely. We shared an unspoken bond, forged through our mutual recognition of the oppressive air that hung heavily in the wake of that peculiar road. The sheer weight of those emotions, combined with the unending mystery of what lay beyond those seemingly innocuous facades, weighed heavily on my mind. What was it about those houses, their architecture, or perhaps some intangible force that emanated from within, that elicited such an intense reaction? The query gnawed at the corners of my consciousness, refusing to relinquish its hold on my thoughts. It was only when we finally escaped the clutches of that ominous street, leaving its indistinct specters behind, that a sense of relief washed over me. Like a prisoner released from their shackles, I could breathe freely once more. The lingering sense of dread dissipated, replaced by a newfound tranquility that settled deep within my soul. Yet, despite this respite, my mind remained ensnared in a ceaseless cycle of contemplation, relentlessly dissecting the events of that fateful night. As I recount this tale, dear listener, know that the enigma of that road, the inexplicable sensations, and the haunting beauty of those houses remained etched within the deepest recesses of my consciousness. The tendrils of curiosity, ever tenacious, continue to wrap themselves around my thoughts, refusing to relinquish their grip. It is a puzzle that persists unresolved, a testament to the enduring power of the unknown and the indelible impact it can have on our lives. And so, as the wheels of time continue to turn, I find myself drawn back to that road, that night, and the enigmatic houses that seem to hold a myriad of secrets. The questions linger, suspended in the realm of the unanswered, waiting patiently for their day of revelation. Until then, I wander through the corridors of my mind, seeking solace in the untold stories and the unexplored depths of the human existence, forever captivated by that single moment of time that left an indelible mark on my journey. Story number 14. I work at a hospital and had a paranormal encounter when I used to work on evenings and nights. Before I began my tenure at the hospital, where I've devoted a significant portion of my life for the past decade, I was already aware of the haunting reputation of the significantly older hospital within the same trust. Little did I know the one I worked at has its own eerie secrets as well. The discovery of this fact was rather unsettling, to say the least. It was a day like any other, as my colleagues and I completed our duties within the hospital. Exhausted, we decided to gather in the kitchen for a brief respite before bidding farewell to the premises. This particular kitchen was situated in a section of the hospital that housed the research laboratories, conveniently located on the same floor as the wards, but entirely separated from them. We were fully aware that everyone else had already departed for the day, leaving only the three of us remaining. However, as soon as the two staff members accompanying me exited the kitchen, I was confronted with a palpable sense of solitude. Approximately 5 minutes after their departure, a mysterious occurrence seized my attention. Footsteps, unmistakable in their distinct rhythm, began emanating from the corridor adjacent to the kitchen, the very same corridor guarded by a magnetic locked door. It wasn't possible for anyone to have entered undetected, yet the sounds persisted, finally halting just outside the kitchen door. Driven by an instinctual curiosity, I felt compelled to investigate, hoping to uncover the source of this spectral disturbance. Much to my bewilderment, my inspection revealed an empty area, void of any presence other than my own. The rooms at my disposal beckoned me to explore further, and dutifully, I inspected each one, meticulously confirming their vacancy. Not a soul could be found. Perturbed by these inexplicable events, I decided it was best to retreat from the enigmatic realm that had seemingly invaded my workplace. While waiting for a lift, an experience transpired that would forever linger in my memory. I could swear with unwavering certainty that a shadowy figure materialized from the far end of the corridor I had just traversed. Its silhouette manifested amidst the dimly lit hallway, and for a fleeting moment our eyes met. A shiver traveled down my spine as an entity dissolved into thin air, leaving me pondering the nature of what I had just witnessed. Determined to seek solace and comprehend the peculiar happenings, I sought out my fellow staff members, eager to glean insights from their own encounters. One colleague recounted an eerie encounter within a ward, an apparition of an elderly individual aimlessly wandering through the area, only to be inexplicably vanished. Another shared a chilling tale of phantom screams that reverberated throughout the hospital, despite the conspicuous absence of any living being. Yet another individual divulged an experience of hearing an ethereal melody, a haunting melody that resonated through the corridors, evoking both fascination and trepidation. It was clear that these eerie episodes were not confined to my own encounters, but had touched the lives of others within our shared workspace. That fateful day, wrought with the enigmatic and uncanny, transpired nearly 8 years ago. Although I have since moved on from that particular section of the hospital, the memories of those inexplicable incidents continue to linger within the recesses of my mind. The whispered stories and shared accounts of apparitions, inexplicable sounds, and ghostly figures have become an integral part of the hospital's legacy, a chilling testament to the paranormal mysteries that shroud its walls.